Today I'm going to talk about the Smartphone-Pentest-Framework from Backtrack 5. Smartphone-Pentest-Framework is a tool for penetration testing Android smartphones, although extensions for iPhone and BlackBerry are supposedly in development. Now, the first thing that you want to do on a fresh Backtrack 5 install is to uninstall the Smartphone-Pentest-Framework version that comes with Backtrack 5, like so. Now, I've already set this up, so I'm not going to enter this. After that, you want to download the newest version, which you can get from Git by typing this. Now, after you get that, what you'll get is a folder called Smartphone-Pentest-Framework on your root. You want to go into it and you want to run the BT install script, which will install the newest version on your machine. Now, this will also start MySQL, and it will create a framework database automatically for you. As well, it will start Apache 2. Now, if you didn't just install it and you rebooted your machine, you need to start those yourself, so we'll do that right now. Next thing you want to do is modify your configuration file. Now, this configuration comes pretty well pre-configured for the installation that we just did. What we want to pay close attention to is the IP address, the shell IP address. You got to make sure that those both point to your Backtrack machine. I'm going to save it. Now, I'm using version 1.5 of SPF, and for version 1.5 the GUI has been deprecated, so I'll just be using console for everything. Now, I've tested this tool pretty extensively with both a Samsung Galaxy S3 on version 4.1.1 of Android and a LG Optimus One on version 2.2. And only a subset of these functions, only a few of them, actually work. So the first thing that you want to do is clear the database. You want to do this every time that you start SPF because it's very flaky otherwise. The next thing that we want to do after that is attach framework to a mobile modem. I don't have a USB modem, so I can't. That's one of the few functions of SPF that I was not able to test. So I just used the smartphone-based app. Now, the framework app is the way that SPF communicates over the cellular network. Now, you need to somehow get the framework app onto your phone. So the framework app is located right there. Easiest way to do this, I find, is to take this and copy it to your web server root at /var/www. Then go on your phone and browse to your web server, the IP address of your web server /frameworkandroidapp.apk, and this will download it directly to your phone, and from there you can install it. To connect the Framework Android app to SPF, you need to supply the phone number and the control key and the URL path. Now the control key is pretty much anything you want. It's like a password. You need to enter it on the control phone, and we'll need to enter it a couple more times later on. The URL path is just a path in the web server that hosts files that the framework console uses. So for that, you could type anything. I would type /control. Likewise, on the phone, you'll have to enter the IP address of the machine as well as the control key and the URL path. They obviously have to be identical. Once you've entered those, you press attach on the phone and you press confirm on SPF, and they connect to each other. Now the next step is to create an agent and copy it to the web server. So the first thing we'll do is generate agent app, and now the blank front end and the maps demo both do exactly the same thing. I like to use maps demo because it actually has a front end to the app, whereas blank front end, when someone launches it, it doesn't do anything and just won't launch anything. It's kind of suspicious. So we'll choose maps demo, and this will ask for the phone number of the control modem. So it's the same phone number that you typed in before for your control phone, and the control key, which is also the same as before. And the control path is not the same as before. This is a folder for the files for the agent to use as opposed to the framework app. So you can type anything you want. I like to type maps demo. Once you press enter there, it will generate the app. Now the next thing we want to do is copy agent to the web server. So we choose 3. Hosting path is the same as it was before. The file name can be anything that you want. I like to choose .apk. The reason for this is because when we do a social engineering attack in the next step, it will send a link to the web server /hosting path and file name right after, one after the other. So it'll say IP address of the web server, or the name if you have it registered, /mapsdemo.apk. Now the next step is to run a social engineering attack to attempt to get a target to download the agent app that we just generated. Now for this, only option 1 works. I've tried 2, 3, and 4, and I couldn't get any of them to do anything. So we choose option 1, Android /mapsdemo.apk. Now when you press enter, you might get an error saying cannot create the folder maps demo, it already exists. We see this error a lot with this version of the tool, but it doesn't matter. It still does what we want it to do. Now what this does, the direct download agent does, is it sends a text message to the target saying, hey, check out this cool app, and it gives a link to directly download it off of the web server. Now this is the key to the Smartphone Pentest Framework. If the user doesn't download the app and install it and run it, then there's nothing else that we can do. So the next step is to attach framework to deployed agent. So your URL path, control key. Now once you press yes, it's going to hang for a while. It's just an error message that always comes up. You just have to wait for it to time out, but it does work. Now the next step is to send commands to an agent. Now here you'll get a list of the available agents. It'll be listed by phone number, but sometimes it will be completely blank. Now when it's blank, I find that if you've done every other step right, it still works. But if it doesn't work for you, you'll have to redo all the previous steps. So you choose your agent, and then you get a screen that looks like this. Now not all of these commands work. Option 1 does. What it does is it sends an SMS from the agent phone to any number that you choose. It asks you for the number, the message that you want to send, and the delivery method. Now the delivery method is the way that the command gets sent to the agent phone. The options are SMS or HTTP. SMS works for me on the version 2.2 phone, but it does not work on the version 4.1.1 phone, the newer one. And even what's more, it sends a garbled command message directly to that phone via SMS, so the user actually sees it. So choose HTTP. Take picture does not work on either phone. If you choose it and then you launch the camera app on the phone afterward, it actually disables the camera app, and it doesn't work again until you reboot the phone. Get contacts does not work either. This one just doesn't do anything. Get SMS database, on the other hand, does work. It asks you for the delivery method and the return method. For the delivery method, you should select HTTP, but for the return method, you could select either HTTP or SMS. SMS returns the database to your control phone. HTTP writes the database to a file called text.txt in the agent's folder on the web server. Now, the database is the 10 most recent SMS messages that the device has received. Privilege escalation doesn't work either. It doesn't do anything. So the only real power in the Smartphone Pentest Framework as of version 1.5 is the ability to send SMS messages from any phone that you can get an agent successfully installed on, and the ability to get the SMS, the most recent SMS messages from that phone. So have a quick look at the other commands here. Number 3, view information gathered, does not do anything. Number 5 has several options for iPhones. Option 3 I could not test because it requires a USB modem. And options 1 and 2 are about about finding the SSH password for the iPhone. Now, this only works on an iPhone that is jailbroken and has the OpenSSH app from Cydia installed on it. Now, it says right in Cydia, if you install this app, change the password. So these two options here are pretty much useless, but they do work. Smartphone-Pentest-Framework uses social engineering to install the agent application on a user's phone. So the way to protect yourself from this tool is to be careful what you download. Always look at the permissions of any app that before you install it on your phone, especially if it did not come from the App Store. And that is the Smartphone Pentest Framework. Visit us at dotslashbacktrack.com for some more useful tutorials and information about Backtrack 5.